certain Mr. Avo in our lives, and then a certain Prof. Donu in our lives to really push us. Because this counseling aspect and the coaching aspect, I believe these were very, very instrumental individuals on that journey and that aspect of your life. We thank God for their lives.
Exactly. Exactly.
But now I can see a lot of people on with us. Some may be counselors, some may be students of yours at one place or another. Some may have experienced you train them in different sessions all over the place. And tonight we get the opportunity to learn from you at first hand what the journey has been for you. And as I look at the list of places and the learnings that you have done, that's interesting. All the way from Editrom to John Maxwell certification. It's a whole long journey. It's a whole long journey. So with the John Maxwell, then you got into the area of leadership and coaching, training, and speaking. So right now, the food and nutrition, home economics, how far?
Interestingly, it's been incorporated even in my coaching, because it's one area that I'm very passionate about. It shows up in everything I do, in my personal life, in my coaching, in interacting with others. You know, one of the things about me, I'm a health fanatic. And so for me, it's about eating for health, not just eating. And it all comes from that background. And so just as I analyze people, get to know them in order to help them, I also analyze what I eat and decide what will help me in terms of my being healthy. And so I still use it, and I still use it to help other people. And sometimes when I have the opportunity, I coach people in foods and nutrition, because I believe, like we know, that you are what you eat. And as the sages of old said, that let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. And so since I discovered the secrets that when you actually eat well, it keeps you healthy and strong. So it's been of great benefit for me to have done that. And then the interesting thing also is this. Sometimes God leads us in ways that we don't understand. Before I went to do the specialization course in foods and nutrition education, I was quite a timid person. In fact, almost all the 5 years when I was in secondary school, you would hardly hear me talking, debating, and all that. I was a very quiet type, keeping to myself. I had my own circle of friends, yes, but I wasn't the boisterous type. I wasn't the type that you find running all over the place with nicknames and the rest. But something happened when I went to Holy Child College of Education. Somehow, I was thrust into very practical leadership. It wasn't my first leadership step, but that was a defining time for me. Because I happened to have classmates who were more than if they were in a boys' school. I don't know how that came about. Talk about people being jokers, people not really scared of anything. You know, it's like they were themselves. And initially, we didn't have much of a problem because of the American style training that we had. But in our final year, the American nuns left. And so it came to those who were typical, let's say, African educators. And so whilst the typical American style suited us, suited that kind of mix that we had, this one did not take that into consideration. So what happened? By our final year, all our lecturers said we were too much, so they resigned from our class and left us on our own. And I was a prefect at the time. So you can imagine what that meant. We needed to learn, pass our final exams. That was conducted by the University of Cape Coast and all that. And so imagine this bunch. Even the fact that their lecturers had resigned didn't mean anything to them. For them, life continued as usual. So I found myself in a position where I needed to organize my mates for us to have our own lecturing. So we just looked at the batch, identified people who were strong in the various subject areas, psychology, foods and nutrition education, and all those things. So finally, we had our own schedule with our own peer teachers, and I happened to be one of them. So that's how we learned for about 6 months before the final exams. And we had to go for all sorts of past questions. Besides learning, we had sessions where we tried to answer those questions as much as we could. And the interesting thing is that you would think that would change them. They were the same, you know, carefree, boisterous, they didn't care about anything. They would do what they wanted and all that. But you know, at the end of the day, when it got to the time of the exams, there was a wait and see. Let's see what they can do. The practicals, when the lecturers from the University of Cape Coast came, they were full of commendation for the kind of work we had produced. Then when it got to the written one, it was the same. And I remember after the first paper, we were in 2 batches. So the first group wrote theirs. When they finished, the rest of us joined. Then we marched to the school chapel and prayed. And even then, if you heard the kind of prayers that people were making, you will wonder when these people would ever get serious, even when it came to spiritual things. So we went through, and the long and short is that when the results for the colleges of education came out that year, it was our school that topped. A batch that had been written off, you know, that was seen as not serious. Wow. Because after every paper written, they would start playing Bob Marley music and start dancing from the different halls of residence towards each other. I remember one day, the principal came out, looked at us because she heard the music. She just shook her head and went back to her office. And so after all this, we came up tops. And that really taught me something because I happened to be the prefect at the time. There was nothing I could do. We were either going to do everything it took to make it or flop. And by sheer determination, backed by the cooperation of everyone, it was teamwork. And So that sort of boosted my morale in terms of leadership. And so this is one of the earliest things that I remember, which has had a huge impact on me, particularly in my leadership journey.
Mommy, this is an interesting one. Yeah. And since you mentioned nickname, I want to find out. You may not have had a lot of nicknames, but at least you had one. We are waiting for the responses in the chats. I have some comments already. Coach Bismarck says, wow, that's great, to one of the points you had said. And Gloria says, thanks, doctor. It is an interesting journey and thanks for sharing with us. And then she adds that clarity of purpose, determination, and hard work and continuous development are some of the nuggets I have picked. She's already picked these nuggets. Okay. So Gloria has a suggestion of a nickname for you. Sorry, but
I saw that.
She's proposing Asariva for you. Yeah, let them come. If you have a suggestion apart from Asariva, we'll be voting for the best nickname that we are going to give. And then from today onwards, we can know that Doc has a nickname. So apart from calling her Dame or Doc, we have another name that we can give. But Doc, thank you very much for sharing your life with us. More into leadership, there's the school there and the role that you played really exposed you. From the story you have told it really pushed you out there to get into leadership and to play that role. And now you teach and coach people on a lot of things, including leadership. What is your concept of leadership? I'm surprised Coach Bismarck has not typed in a nickname yet. I cannot imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's waiting for. I was hoping he'll be the first.
One of those who knows me quite close.
I shock Bismarck.
Yeah, talking about my concept of leadership is that there's no idle word or action. Everything you do has an influence on another person, one way or the other, either good or bad. And that goes with what the Bible tells us. In Matthew 5:16, it says, let your light so shine before men that they see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. And so as a Christian, my concept of leadership, that every time in private or in public, you need to think of the kind of effect that you want to have. Because whether we like it or not, words that we speak, things that people see as you, has an influence on them. So apart from maybe deliberately trying to influence people, consciously or unconsciously, we are influencing them all the time. That's why my concept of leadership is that there's no idle word or action, ever. And so whatever you do, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, even when you are not speaking, people are watching your demeanor. They are looking at the vibes that you are sending and all that. I remember one interesting thing that I learned, I think about 2 years ago. I changed my status picture on Facebook, which I do once in every long while. And I had some comments coming in. And somebody whose name I did not even recognize sent a message. He said, "Thank you so much, Auntie. I'm what I am today because of your disciplinarian ways." And I was like, wow. Apparently, I may have handled that person in Sunday school because it's one of the things that has also shaped me. From age 20 already, I was teaching in the children's service. And I was just myself because wherever I am, I mean, I believe in being myself, sticking to my values, not allowing people to do as they want, correcting them and all that. And so this is somebody who apparently is a grown up now, sending me that message. It told me a lot. That this is somebody whose name I don't even recognize. I may even meet him and not recognize him. But as soon as he saw me on Facebook, he came with this comment. And it really did something to me. Because I asked myself, how about if the person had said that because of what you did to me, I ended up this way or that, which is also a possibility. And so that is why my concept of leadership, it may be quite unconventional, but I know when you start thinking of the fact that there's no idle word or action, and that everything that you do has an influence on other people for good or bad, then you are careful, which means that first of all, you need to work on yourself, knowing that whatever you say, how you say it, whatever you do or don't do, how you do it or don't do it, has an influence on people. And so this has guided me over the years. And if I look at the children that I journeyed with as a children's service teacher or leader or animator, or whatever people are more comfortable with, it's been a journey that has enriched my life as well. It's been a journey that has been very rewarding, very fulfilling, because out of that, I've seen priests. Out of that, I've seen business executives. I've seen people grow to become leaders. And anywhere they meet me, you know, they are eager to come close, say hello, sometimes introduce themselves and all that. And so even without consciously thinking of leadership at the time, I have come to know years later that it was all part of the leadership journey. Maybe because I myself didn't even have that consciousness of leadership at the time, but it did not stop what I was doing from having an impact. And so when Christ tells us that we are the salt of the earth and the light of the world, for me, this is what it means. Recently, we reconnected with one of the students that I had taught in Niger. Like I said, I taught English language in one of their secondary schools. So a former colleague that we reconnected to recently said they had an old students platform and he put my number there. Then I had a call and the person introduces himself. Of course, we left in '89, so I have no way of remembering that person. And he said, look, madam, you've had such a profound effect on me because of the way you taught us. I'm an international businessman now. And when I go to places and I'm speaking English, they marvel and they are like, you say you come from Niger, and Niger is a French-speaking country. How come you speak English so well? He said, I always tell them that I had a very good English teacher, and that is why. So he was like, Madam, I'll try and visit you in Ghana, by all means. You know, you can imagine what that did to me. I mean, it's not like I had favorites when I was there. No, I just did my work. And I was young at the time, in my 20s. But here we are, somebody connecting with excitement. And since then, he's called about 3-4 times. And so this is what I'm talking about. It wasn't a Christian school, because Niger, if you know, is a typical Muslim country. You know. But for such a person to come out years later and say this to you, it's so gratifying. And at the same time, it fits into what I just said, that there's no idle word or action, that whatever we do has an impact for good or bad. And that to me is leadership, whether we are conscious of it or not.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Doc. Reminding us of this as your concept of leadership, that we are called to be the salt of the earth and light of the world. And friends, if you are listening and watching us, it's an opportunity to pick these nuggets and let them influence your life also. Because Doc is telling us, for her, no idle word, no idle action. Whatever you do has an influence on somebody, whether you're doing it consciously or unconsciously, whether it's intentional or unintentional, someone is observing you and someone is taking some cues from you. You have no idea the influence you are having on other people. And therefore, we cannot be careless. We cannot do things anyhow and just expect that things will manifest the way we want them to. We need to be intentional and careful about what we do, have our own value system, and ensure that there is a lot of discipline in what we do. We think about the effect that we want to see in whatever we are doing, that what is going to be the effect, what is going to be the impact on someone out there. And it also means, therefore, as Doc has shared with us, you need to work on yourself. You need to work on yourself. You can't say, this is who I am, this is how I have been, and people should take you or leave you as you are. You can work on yourself. And as she has said, it's not in comparison with anyone. You are just working on yourself. Doc, Engineer Asako says, hi, Doctor. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. You are amazing. I happen to be one of your students at CCP and already applying lessons on functional and dysfunctional family systems.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, please don't tempt me. I don't know what functional and dysfunctional family systems are. Don't push me there now. but we are happy to have all of you.
It's one of my favorite lessons.
Oh, okay.